Michael Kelly's journey in medicine began at Philadelphia General Hospital in the field of clinical pathology in 1979. He received a BS degree from Penn State University with a degree in medical technology, specialty in microbiology. Michael completed clinical perfusion training at Deborah Hart Lung Institute and completed his master's program in cardiopulmonary perfusion at Ohio State University. Michael worked at Graduate Hospital in clinical anesthesia, then Hahnemann University Hospital in cardiac electrophysiology as a technologist, and then moved to cardiopulmonary surgery as a perfusionist. In 1989, Michael was recruited to the Hospital of the University of Pennsylvania as a staff perfusionist and became the clinical education coordinator for their School of Perfusion in less than a year. Hypnosis training was required and used in anesthesia and in the operating room, the cardiac catheterization lab, and in the emergency room on patients as well. It's a better choice than drugs since there are no side effects. Michael completed hypnosis training from the American International Association and later became a master practitioner in neurolinguistic programming for natural healing. Ladies and gentlemen, Michael Kelly.
Okay. See how everything works here. Is this? Do you hear me? Yeah. Okay. Neuro-linguistic programming. That's what this is about. Neuro-linguistic programming. Sounds ominous. To program someone else's mind with the spoken word. It is hypnosis. It's all it is. It's gotten a lot of attention, especially since Barack Obama used it a lot during his campaign for presidency. There's a paper on the internet that goes into details on his use of NLP in his speeches. He's not very good at it. I'll tell you that right now. The paper is very well written, although it has a lot of things in it that are somewhat questionable, like the legal aspects of what he's done. To put people into a trance without their knowledge and to make you vote for him for his change, it's not illegal. It's not a crime. It should not be a crime. Does anybody here ever experience hypnosis? Yes. Yeah, cool. All right, so you know what hypnosis is. Hypnosis is very simple. It's being open to suggestions. That's all it is. Now, with neuro-linguistic programming, it's covert. It's stealth. It's all these wild things that they can do to you. But it really isn't. Is it really? Can somebody make you do something against your will simply because you're in a hypnotic trance? I don't know. Does anybody want to volunteer here to be hypnotized? Sure, come on up. One thing, before we get going, as she's coming up here. What's your name? Kiki. While she's being prepared for hypnosis, let me tell you a little story that happened to me. Last summer, I went to the store to buy some electronics to upgrade my computer and interface it with all my equipment. I have a budget of $600. I get to the store, talk to the sales guy, he showed me all this other stuff. It's cut. All right, so I get to the store, and the sales rep showing me all this different stuff that I can get. It's like really cool, and he's telling me I could do this, that, and the other thing. I get home, I unpack the car, I spent $900. I get the stuff, I put it out on the floor of the house, and I was like, how cool is this? And it's like, oh, wait a second. That guy, he didn't do it to me. He didn't do it. He did that NLP crap on me. He did. It worked. All right? But why did it work? Because I wanted it to work. If you don't want it to work on you, it will not work. So no matter what anybody tells you about the horrors of NLP, it only works if they can convince you that it will work. Now, could you do me a favor? Could you come over here? Stand here. look at me, stand straight, look right. Now, what I want you to do is waddle like a duck and quack. Waddle like a duck and quack.
Waddle like a duck.
Yeah, like like a duck would waddle and quack.
Do you want me to do that?
She's not even hypnotized, so if I put her in a hypnotic trance now, she'll do it again, but she'll do it probably a little bit better. But it just goes to show you, all it takes for someone to be in a hypnotic. She's in a very light hypnotic trance at this moment. Believe it or not. That's the NLP trance, right there. Let me explain how it works before we get into the deep hypnosis. With the hypnotic trance is simply a change in the brain waves. Your normal alert state, you're about 30 cycles per second in your brain. That's when you're logical and rational. A lighter state is the alpha state, and that's where you're down to about 25 cycles per second. That's where she is right now. That's the state of creativity, of learning. You cannot learn anything without being in the alpha state. You will never learn being in the beta state. That's the filter. That's the critical faculty. You will never let anything through into your unconscious mind. I prefer subconscious to unconscious, but the terms they use these days is unconscious. So you're never going to let anything in. That filter will hold it from being a permanent part of your mind. The subconscious or unconscious mind is where your habits are, how you walk, how you talk. The foods, the regular foods you eat, most people only eat 20 different foods in their entire life, and it's those same foods over and over again. That's a habit. All the habits that you have are in the unconscious mind, and it only gets in there. And everything you've learned, all your creativity, it only happens at 25 cycles a second or less. So when you're rational, it's not going to happen. Right now, you're probably not learning very much, although she's learning a lot. All right, now what I want you to do is just take in 3 deep breaths. So what I'm going to do is put her in a hypnotic trance, a deeper hypnotic trance. I'm going to go to the theta state. Theta state is down around 15 cycles a second or less. And that's where, when you're in that state, that's the athletic state of when the athletes talk about being in the zone. I work with the U.S. Olympic team now, Olympic ski team, and I have them in this state before every meet. I have them behind, focusing on the ski run that they're going to run just before they do it. They already had a practice run. We have video of it. And if they go through that, in that state, they go through the run in their mind, they often do better than they do without being in the hypnotic state. Well, let's do a little hypnosis, though. not follow any command right here. I told her to stand on the page. If I asked her to walk on the page, she'd probably in hypnosis is not mind control. Hypnosis is not mind control, but hypnosis is a tool used in mind control. We can ask her to give us her PIN number for her ATM card. She won't do it. Without mind control, torture being done beforehand. After torture is done, then this would work as a form of mind control. Let me just try one thing here. Okay, what I want you to do is, when I'm going to count down from 5 to 1, and I just want you to sing the Star Spangled Banner, just one stanza. When I say 0, you'll just sing the first stanza of the Star Spangled Banner. Is that okay?
Okay.
Okay. So just relax. 5, 4, 3, we're just going to 2, 1, and 0. And sing the Star Spangled Banner.
Oh, say, can you see?
That's great. That's great, thank you. Okay, now I just want to relax. Just put your head down. Just relax. I don't do hypnosis shows for amusement to make fools of people. I've done it twice. Once for Children's Hospital, once for the Leukemia Society. I don't like doing it. But I just want to demonstrate that there are things you can have somebody do, but it's not that they're doing something against their will. It's something they would normally do. If I can ask her to walk like a duck, I'm not going to do it. She'll do it. But she would have done it without the hypnosis. As you saw, she started doing it. So the important thing here with NLP and with hypnosis is that it's not something they can force. You can be forced to do something against your will. I'll show you right now. Okay, now what I want you to do is just take another deep breath and relax more. And when I snap my fingers, you'll open your eyes, but you'll remain in the trance. Relaxed. And you're going to do a cartwheel across it. 1, 2, 3, cartwheel. Cartwheel. I'm wrong. That's okay. Just relax. Just close your eyes. Sleep, relax. Stop. Stay on your feet, please. Stay on your feet. She would have done that anyway. I'm trying to think of something that I could make her do that she would normally. Oh, I know. Now, in your imagination, I want you to imagine you have a knife in your hand. A big, sharp knife. And I want you, when I say 3, to stab me with it. So, now, let's see if she's a murderer. 1, 2, 3. Stab. Do it. Now, if it's against her normal way to stab somebody in the back, stab me, she'll do it. If it's against her nature to stab me, she's not going to do it. So, there you go. Relax. You're cool. Everything's safe. Everything's cool. Now you're still in a hypnotic trance. One thing that's really easy to tell when somebody's in a hypnotic trance is the glaze in the eyes. It's like they've been smoking a couple dupes. It's really cool. Could you do me a favor and just step in the center stage here at the mark? Okay. And just sleep once again, relax, stay on your feet. This all comes down to what NLP is and what it can do and what it can't do. Some of the things you do with NLP. Now, this is obviously not a covert method of hypnosis that I used here, but I just wanted to demonstrate what hypnosis. You know what? Let's get her out of here. with NLP works different. It is stealth hypnosis. It's a covert way. It's a way of doing the same thing I just did, except without the person's consent. We had consent here to do hypnosis. All right, let's go back into the. Oh, you know what? When you look on the internet at some of the ads for people who are doing covert hypnosis, it's really cool. You know, I looked at some of the ads and it says, how to make somebody follow your every command anytime you want them. Or learn stealth hypnosis, make everyone follow your lead. Discover the secrets of covert hypnosis. One of my favorites is get any girl, anytime, using covert conversational hypnosis. Get laid whenever you want. Well, guys, good luck, dude. I don't think it's going to happen. It's just not. So that's some of the stuff you see on the internet. The co-founders of neurolinguistic programming were really making a self-help thing. And it's really good. Anthony Robbins is the guy who has made it the most popular. He sells the most. But what they've done is these guys, it was Bandler and Grinder, and what they did is they say, this is what they say, I don't have my doubts, they say that they searched through 150 years of the best speeches and the most powerful people, and they found their habits and their speech patterns and discovered exactly what they say, how they did it, and they quantified it into a scientific formula. I'm not sure about that, but that's what they say. And what they came up with was neurolinguistic programming, how to covertly put you in a trance. But it's very simple. It's very, very simple. If you would say to somebody, I hate this podium. If you would say to somebody, just think about the day you graduated from high school. How cool was that? And you're sitting there, and to think of just that thought puts you in the alpha state. Just that's all it takes. Somebody you met long ago, meet you again. Oh, remember when we went out that night and had this good time? That thought puts you in the alpha state. You're in hypnotic trance. That's it. That's how simple it is. You're still alert. She was aware of everything that went on when we were doing that. She was in a deeper trance. She was down below 20 cycles per second of her brain waves. But hypnosis itself, as I said, is not the thing. But the important thing to know is that it can be used at Guantanamo Bay. It can be used for torture, include it with torture. The best scenario I can think of is the Patty Hearst case. Patty Hearst was kidnapped by Donald DeFreeze, who was an inmate at UCLA Psychiatric Center. DeFreeze was considered a near idiot, but with Dr. Joylyn West and Martin Orne from the University of Penn and Jolly West from UCLA, they taught Donald DeFreeze how to do mind control, how to make somebody do whatever. And part of that, big part of it, was using NLP and hypnosis, even though NLP was not invented strictly as it was, but it's the same thing as hypnosis. So what they did is they got her in a room in a rundown old building, put her in a closet, they peed on her, raped her 4 times a day, got electric shocks, not from anything controlled situation, just a plug from a lamp that they pulled it out and zapped her with it. And they did that for about 5 weeks. Fed her minimal amount of food and water, and then indoctrinated her over time into their cause, where she then went on to rob the bank and do all that other stuff. But it was the big thing that seemed to hit the news wasn't that Donald DeFreeze was considered a near idiot and could do all this, which is nonsense. That Jolly West and Martin Orne had a big role in it with the MK Ultra project. But the big thing was that she was hypnotized. As I showed, you can't make somebody do something under hypnosis alone. But it is a good way to indoctrinate. If you can get somebody into that alpha or theta state, get those brainwaves down, it's because that's the learning area. That's where you can be indoctrinated into something. However, one of the things that NLP people always talk about is that you gain entrance into their mind. But I've been in a hypnotic trance at least, well, everybody is about 3 minutes every hour. But I do it all the time for self-relaxation and for performance because I still perform skiing. I just can't see that if it's not part of your makeup, unless you're tortured, indoctrinated in another fashion for a long period of time, that you're going to be indoctrinated into believing that the Federal Reserve or the IRS is here to help you. You know, it's almost April 15th. You know the IRS is just your buddy. They just need you to do your fair share. Nobody believes it, but I could never hypnotize you into believing that if you don't believe it already. So with the whole thing, it's hard to say exactly how important this is. All right, let me get into some of the basics of what the NLP people, how to recognize it and protect yourself against it. It's especially big in car sales. If you're going to go buy a car, just about all the sales reps have hired somebody to do this. What they do is, first of all, if they have sunglasses on, they're gone. It's frequent and consistent eye contact. It's standing tall and straight and using a deep tone. It's doing something I have not been practicing NLP here today. Speaking in chunks so that you may understand more fully what they're saying. It's what politicians do all the time, if you notice. But car salesmen are now doing it all the time. The speaking in chunks part is usually when they're going to put an embedded command in their statements. Embedded commands is where they have a command in another sentence, but they change their tone slightly on the words that they want this command. I've tried it on people. It doesn't work. Maybe it's me. I've had other people try it on me. It doesn't work. Maybe it's my mind. I don't know. But hypnosis works. But I'm telling you right now, don't fear NLP. Don't fear. I mean, yeah, they get you jazzed up. They get you excited. But it's always what you want. So, you know, if like when Barack Obama was running for office, because he was probably of the politicians the best at it, even though he was not very good, he was able to do it with his speaking in chunks, but ambiguity was his big thing. Vote for me. No, this is how he would do it. He would start out with the obvious. You pace and lead. So you start out with, you've all come here today. We're here gathered together for the good of all to create change. Ambiguity. First of all, he gives you the obvious, like I did doing a hypnosis. You're standing here, you feel the clothes on your body, you feel the floor under your feet. So you start pacing, and then you lead them to where you want them to go. You want to go deep, you want them to change, you want to vote for me, vote for change. Well, what is change? I look at Barack Obama, and I see the third term of George W. Bush. So it's like, he didn't create any change, and he's not going to. He's just another politician. So this is what they do. This is how it works. The best thing you can do to protect yourself against a covert act of hypnosis against you is first, never make what you feel is a spontaneous decision. Sleep on anything. If you go to the dentist and he wants to do a root canal on you, just sit in that waiting room and I'll be with you. You know, put the Novocaine and we'll get you in 10 minutes. You don't know that you need that root canal right away, do you? All right. That's something that happened to me. It's like, no, I'm not going to do that. I don't have anything wrong. It was phantom pain. Don't make any purchases, large purchases like I did on the spur of the moment, because they've influenced you. They got you excited. One of the things I missed earlier is with hypnosis. A lot of people think of hypnosis as first being in a zombie state. You're not a zombie. And second, that the hypnotist is using a slow, monotone voice like you would see in the movies and create a zombie, where actually they're exciting. They get you revved up. And that's where the hypnosis, because when you get excited about these things, that's where the hypnosis comes in. That's what gets you hypnotized. Now, that's it in a nutshell. I don't think there's much more to it. I mean, I could get into the details of how you pace and lead and do all the details, but this isn't a lesson in NLP as much as something to let you know that it is there it's not that, it's really not that bad. Oh, you know what? I did want to get into one other thing. I said earlier that the two guys who founded NLP, and it came out as being the new science of mind control, of hypnosis, and I didn't buy it because of where I went to school and what I learned in school. I knew that was not true. But what I want to ask you, knowing a little bit that you know about NLP and hypnosis, and that it can be potentially harmful in the long term, do you think it's moral and ethical for a politician, a salesman, or anybody on Madison Ave to use this? Anybody think it's moral, ethical? You think it should not be used? Or should be? Is it okay? Anybody? Well, there's two I can think of, Ron Paul and Rand Paul. But do you think it should be like something that we should not allow them to use, this technique? Anybody, just say it, just shout. Paint a picture, right. So it's free speech, right? So you really can't do anything about it except know that it's there. Public awareness helps a lot, especially when it comes down to that guy Bernanke, that guy in the Fed who, you got to let him, he's really good at it. If you listen to him in front of the Senate, he is really good at it. He's got those guys, except one, he's got them all. He's just kissing his feet. I don't understand him. So the bottom line is, all right, so here you look at the NLP, you know that it's pretty much a new scientific discovery, and then you look at Dale Carnegie's How to Win Friends and Influence People from 1933, and guess what? It's what the NLP guys say. Look at Napoleon Hill's 1963 book, How to Think and Grow Rich. It's self-hypnosis and the rest of the NLP stuff. And then you go back to Aristotle and read his rhetoric, and see in ancient Greece, you weren't allowed to hire a lawyer. You had to do your own talking in court. So he taught rhetoric, and rhetoric was pretty much NLP. So it's more just influence people to your way of thinking than anything devious. Yes?
Well, I mean, this goes back to all time. Strong always needs to be present.
Exactly.
Repetitive, making you think it's your own idea.
Yes. That's...
And you think you come to your own conclusion, and it's not your conclusion. It's something that's been implanted into your mind.
Exactly. But that's the way of life. And it's just that you can use certain techniques to help bolster your point of view into another person's mind. Yes?
Well, like, I think the NLP being actively, I think, like, you don't need to use it, like, subconsciously every day with reminiscence about memories or something about.
You could call it NLP or hypnosis. They're both, I guess, interchangeable. So yeah, when you're thinking about something, especially when you're thinking about good times of the past, it's obviously a hypnotic trance that you're putting yourself into. This stuff, one thing, when you learn how to do this, it takes about 6 weeks, 3 days a week to learn this, but to practice it, it only takes about 2 to 3 minutes to do it to somebody. It's amazing how many, because there's so many different techniques you would use, but you don't use them all at once. There's so many different things. But yeah, you're absolutely right. You use it all the time. We all use it. Anytime you're thinking of the past or thinking of what you want to do in the future, it is hypnosis. It is NLP. When you're using it on other people, when you're trying to convince somebody to do something, it's NLP. Whether it's a purchase, if you're a sales rep, you're using it. But don't believe the hype. Whatever you do, don't believe the hype. You guys are not going to get laid in 10 minutes because you said something right to a girl, unless she was going to do it anyway. I think it's so important. Some people, I think, were expecting to hear the gloom and doom. Like if you read that paper that's on the internet about Obama's use of covert hypnosis, it's like all this doom and gloom and how he bypasses critical faculty and forces your mind into things. That's not my experience. I've been doing this for almost 20 years, and it just doesn't work that way. It's scare tactics. Alex Jones, I love Alex Jones, but even he buys into it. And when I said to him, it's nothing but Aristotle's rhetoric is all NLP is, he dismissed me as a kook. Maybe I am. Yeah.
There are a number of many organizations that charge a lot of money. One I think of was Warner Airlines test.
Right.
Then became the forum, now it's Landmark.
Right.
They make thousands of dollars.
Sure.
And they claim that it's better distance and stuff like that. Is that a type of organization that you can
Absolutely. And it's good self-help stuff. One of the main things that NLP brings to an individual when you learn it is self-confidence. Once you're confident about things, you perform better. So with absolutely, because people become more confident, they tend to learn more, so they have a way of getting themselves into the alpha state to learn more quickly. The smarter people are, the easier it is for them to go into hypnotic trance. And a deep one too, because they're so used to learning, and to learn you have to be in a hypnotic trance. So yeah, those are very good organizations. Now, I would never spend that much money for those things, but I couldn't say that it's something bad, because they absolutely are. Most of their people are more successful at what they do, no matter what it is that they're doing.
It's rumored that he's coming back now, RFID, wherever he is.
Oh, I thought he was dead. No, okay. Cool. He'll be back. Yes.
Can you give me an example of something that's not neuro-linguistic programming? I mean, it seems like school and church.
Churches, definitely. The first preachers, the first priests in ancient times, whether they were Druids or in Egypt, the priest that made it to become the high priest was the guy who could get everybody jazzed up in a hypnotic trance the quickest. They have the drums roll. Hypnotic trances, you go to a show, music, that drum beating, boom, 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 and your cycles, then you're in the hypnotic trance. Yeah, that's hypnotic trance. The priests are definitely, teachers do not learn this, how to engage their students. That's why the schools, one of the reasons, not the only reason, but it's one of the many reasons school systems are failing, is because teachers are not taught to engage the student. To engage the student is to put them in a trance so that they can learn, and it's not happening. Yes?
So, there are two places that I've experienced that kind of energy field. I went to the Forum, and I'm a black guy who goes to church. So when you're in church, when that gospel music is going,
It's awesome, isn't it?
there's something that's a whole other thing, but the music is doing it.
Sure.
But in the Forum, they're doing it with just somebody with a microphone speaking, and there's a feeling in that room. I've never experienced anything like that except for a church or at a rock show. So I'm wondering, what are they doing?
Yeah, well, exactly what they're doing is they're exciting your emotions. And once that happens, then your brainwaves slow down. And then you are in hypnotic trance. You are apt to learn everything they say, whether you accept it as your own. See, that's a thing about NLP, is these people that are pushing these silly programs on the internet, especially, that you can make somebody do. They always say, you bypass that 5% of the brain that everybody uses and get into their subconscious. But they say as if the 5% disappears. Your critical faculty does not disappear just because they bypassed it. So just because somebody gets that thought into your unconscious mind doesn't mean that you're going to accept it as true. Yes?
Would you then say that people who have an unpleasant past and are less likely to reminisce about their past are less susceptible to mind control?
No. It's an individual thing. No, some people, just because they don't reminisce about those horrible things, everybody thinks about what happened yesterday, what happened my day at work, or if you were bowling, on that third frame, I should have done this. Everybody thinks about the past, and therefore everybody does go back. Unless you're mentally retarded, it works. For all normal people, for all the average citizens, it works. Yes? You know, you just have to know to avoid using negatives. Unconscious mind does not understand a negative. So if you're thinking to yourself, don't get hurt, well, your unconscious mind only thinks get hurt. It's using negatives. It's always in the positive. Instead of don't get hurt, it's be safe. You know, so just don't avoid negatives. Always avoid negatives. Yes.
With L. Ron Hubbard and the psychology.
Yeah.
What does that say? I mean, he's obviously using his technique. But what does that say about the people that pay phenomenal amounts of money to rise up in the hierarchy of the religion?
That's a great question. I wish I had an answer for that. I just don't understand how anybody does that. It's amazing to me. Yes. Correct. Exactly. And that's the indoctrination process. Yes. And that is separate. You know, I keep them separate. They use NLP or hypnosis in order to get certain ideas across, but it's the indoctrination process. That's why I pointed to the Patty Hearst case. Yes? You can only guard yourself, and to guard yourself is to know what you want. You know, one of the things, I look at the United States as it is. It's not what I believe it should be. I believe what the Founding Fathers wrote, that individual liberty, self-governance. We govern ourselves, not have some master a few hundred miles away in Washington, D.C. tell us what to do. These are my views. And they've never been able to change my mind, only because I had a firm conviction on my beliefs and liberty. We are now living in a police state. You know, everything you do is being watched by Washington, D.C. Everything, you know, you have cards, you go to the store, you're indoctrinated into it's good to swipe that card at the Rite Aid when you buy something so that they can build up a dossier on you. Because when it comes time to government now having total control of everything you spend, your insurance, everything, they're going to say, whoa, you're going to go to the store and say, you can't have that pizza. No, sorry, you can't have that pizza. No, you already had your share of this month. People think these are good things. Socialism is so evil to me that it is based on one of the 7 deadly sins, and that's the sin of envy. And envy, it's if I can't have it, I don't want them to have it, or I'll destroy it. And that's basically what you see, you know, with these politicians these days. Let's tax the rich. Well, and everybody's, yeah, tax the rich. Well, wait a minute, isn't that envy? Isn't that one of the 7 deadly sins? If I can't have their money, I don't want them to have it either. Let the government take it. The most greedy organization we have is the government, federal, state, and local. So these are my views. You may believe the same. You may think I'm an idiot. That's fine. But you cannot, you have to have your own convictions in order to protect yourself. If you actually believe that the way of the world now is a good thing, well, then that's fine. You've been hypnotized into it. As I've been hypnotized into my beliefs. Yes?
I'm just curious. Say you can't force an individual to do something they don't want to do. What's your take on hypnosis?
Yes, it was use of mass hypnosis, but in a long-term indoctrination program. Remember, it didn't happen overnight. It took quite a few years to indoctrinate people into that. So, you know, the indoctrination process is not always using NLP or hypnosis. But hypnosis is a grand tool in the scheme of what they use. So, you know, when you're protecting yourself, it's not necessarily just protect yourself against the hypnotist, but it's the concepts of what they're bringing to you. When I had her on stage, the only concept that was objectionable that I brought to her was stabbing me in the back. she would waddle like the duck. She did a cartwheel, which I didn't expect her to do. I thought, well, that really threw me. But it was the concept of murder that was foreign to her, that she had a core belief, and I could not change that with hypnosis. I could change that with an indoctrination program, though.
And also, it might be different if there was a lot of people in uniform doing the same thing.
All part of the indoctrination process, whether it's in... Exactly, you're exactly right. That's right. Yes?
I read a fitness hypnotist say that it's like, I can't make you do anything you won't do in a state of hypnosis, but over time you condition me, I may be able to condition you to do this.
That's the indoctrination process. That's absolutely right. It takes time. Yes?
Blood makes the grass grow green, drill sergeant. You know what I mean? That's automatic. What makes the grass grow green? The NLP like you said. That person stabbed you in the back with a microphone?
Probably. Thank God it was just a microphone. Anybody else? Oh, yeah, sure.
I know you haven't talked about it, but I don't feel, maybe you can speak a little bit about reprogramming the mind for medical purposes such as asthma, calcium absorption, those type of things.
I'm not following. I'm sorry.
Program to absorb calcium sometimes can be based in the mind from a blow or an accident.
No, sorry. I've studied a lot more of the electromagnetic mind control systems, the Heart Project, Zen and Guino, Gwen and Zeno programs. The use of the fluoride in the water, all these things. One thing, the Nazis are the ones that started fluoride, and that's rat poison. They put the rat poison in the water in order to make people docile, and it only takes a small amount. And that's why when people tend to watch the news or listen to the talking heads or read newspapers in a state with the fluoride in their system, they're more apt to be docile and to follow the way it goes. That's another reason the Nazis were so capable of getting the general public to follow these steps. That's why right now in our country, it's so easy. You see so many people who are following right into what's going on and want more and more control over their own lives. They're taking my liberty away so that they can have what they think is security. One of the important things is there is very few meds that are 100%, and it's just show that by this room that the fluoride doesn't work on everybody because we're here. So the indoctrination program hasn't worked. And the hypnosis doesn't work on us all. Yes?
I'm probably the only one in this room who was in World War II. Okay?
Probably, okay.
The Nazis definitely were hypnotized by Hitler.
Sure.
Okay. But the American boys that were going out there were just normal individuals. Everything was just self-preservation. If you didn't kill them, they were going to kill you. And you were protecting yourself and your family.
There's an interesting paper that was written about the storming of the beaches on D-Day, and that less than 1/2 of all the U.S. military fired a bullet. They just wanted to storm the beach. They didn't want to kill anybody. You're absolutely right. The Nazis were in a hypnotic trance. Yes, they were indoctrinated into a system. Yes, they couldn't have pulled off the atrocities that they did. The same with the Japanese. We always talk about the Nazis, but the Japanese were pretty horrible too, especially when you look at the pictures from Nanking with soldiers throwing babies in the air and catching them on bayonets. It was pretty horrible what the Axis powers were doing. So you can indoctrinate a group, but you never get everybody. Yes?
Now, I think I read when your body uses their pain control a lot.
Yes. I'm a leukemia patient, and I've used it for pain control. And I also I was part of a case. One of the anesthesiologists I worked with was allergic to meds. He had to have a total knee replacement where they actually cut the bone and put the plastic and steel pieces in, and he did it all with 100 milligrams of Valium and hypnosis. You get them down as deep before they're actually in a sleep. If you're asleep, it doesn't work anymore. If you get them down to less than 3 cycles a second, but yeah, you get them into a good theta state, not delta, and that's where you have to be. It takes about, if you use it, like I use an instant hypnosis trance to get her under. With something like pain control, you would want to use a slower system. So it would take 15, 20 minutes to get them into a trance. And then you would go do the instant hypnosis to get them even deeper. Yeah. But he actually sat up and watched and commented on the surgery, which was pretty bizarre. Watching it. His heart rate never changed and his blood pressure never went up. And that's when I knew, this stuff is really good. If you want. If you don't want to smoke, it won't happen, yeah. You know, they can use aversion therapy. I don't like aversion therapy. That's where just the sight or smell of a cigarette makes you vomit. That's not a good thing. It's like, because you never know where somebody's going to come across that. So nobody uses aversion therapy. But if you really wanted to smoke and you're having a tough time, yeah, hypnosis is the best way. It has a 92% success rate. For weight loss, it also has like close to 100%. It's like 99 point something. Yes? Teaching people values and social behaviors, it's a difficult thing when you get into how it's done. You know, if it's a good thing, if it's successful, but is it an indoctrination and not thinking for yourself? I have time for one more. Anybody else? Yes. I'll get you two. Yeah.
I'd like to know, you included heart program.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, well, you know, the HARP project also there's a place on Long Island too, but the scope of HARP, it's still a black ops, so we really don't know. It's all speculation, but all I can tell you, it's not good. You know, but also don't forget, the Gwen towers go east to west, and Zeno goes north to south, and they all do the same thing, bombard you with electromagnetic waves. What it does is releases certain chemicals in your brain. You don't know what's going on, and then you rely on the news media to tell you what's going on. You then have fear. It could cause fear and panic. Operation Sleeping Beauty in San Francisco is a perfect example. Look it up on the internet. It's unbelievable what they did. Yes, and you in the back, my last one. No? Cool? All right, thank you very much.